Congressional Committee supported him financially. Is this a permanent stain on the party?
I hope it's not permanent, but it will be lasting. That will be used by the Democrats. If we were the Democrats, we'd do it too. So it'll certainly be used by the other side, and it's not, that wasn't our best foot forward by any means.
Steve Bannon was supporting more from the start, and by all accounts helped convince the president, although I don't know if he needed much convincing to support more. What's Bannon's role in this party now?
Well, I hope it's being marginalized. The last thing we need is to push that, ultra-nationalist, ethno-nationalist, protectionist kind of element of the party. That's not good for us.
So what's the risk if the party continues in that direction, the Bannon direction, the Trump direction, that could you lose the Senate? Could you lose the House?
Most definitely. Most definitely. When you look at some of the audiences cheering for Republicans sometimes, you look out there and you say, those are the spasms of a dying party. When you look at the lack of diversity sometimes. And it depends on where you are, obviously. But by and large, we're appealing to older white men. And they're just a limited number of them. And anger and resentment are not a governing philosophy. So you have to actually govern and do something. And sooner or later, the voters will figure out, I think they are and have, that, we've got to have something else.
Senator Flake, a lifelong Republican, did not vote for President Trump in 2016.
So what about the president himself? First of all, what do you think the odds are that he doesn't serve out all 4 years?
I don't know. The talk of impeachment and whatnot, I don't get caught up in that. There's a lot of it on the left. So we'll see. We'll see what goes forward. I look at the last campaign and think, was that campaign even capable of colluding with anybody? It was so chaotic and whatnot. But the problem is, it's always, as I say, the cover-up and the sensitivity that the White House has to the special counsel in this investigation is troubling. I still cannot figure out the rationale for the timing of the Comey firing. And if the president continues to try to, undermine the legitimacy of that investigation, and if Republicans continue to try to help with that, I think that puts us in peril. That we shouldn't participate in the undermining of our institutions that way.
Well, when you look at the firing of and what Comey said, the president said regarding the Flynn investigation, when you look at the calls to key figures in the Congress to back off of the investigation, is there already, in layman's terms here, is there already an obstruction of justice case to be made?
No, I'd wait for the special counsel if he's going to make that case to make that case, but I'm not prepared to make it now.
And what if the president fires the special counsel?
Then that'll be a big problem. And I don't think that will go over well at all here in the Senate. I don't think he'll go there. He shouldn't go there.
And if he does?
And we'll cross that when we come to it, but I don't think it would be received well here. Not by me.
And if he pardons Michael Flynn?
That's equally troubling. So if it's part of the investigation as a way to circumvent the investigation somehow, that would be very troubling.
Senator Flake has called on Republicans to serve as a check on President Trump.
It's up to us to stand up and say this is not acceptable.
But just a few weeks ago, he was there at the White House, sitting next to the president.
This group of wonderful Republican senators is here to discuss the tax bill. Very importantly, we're also going to be talking about trade and NAFTA.
There you are. You're with the president, face to face. Did you use the opportunity to confront him on any of the things that you've confronted him on?
Certainly. On NAFTA. Some people expect if you disagree with the president on some things, I do quite vociferously sometimes on some policy things and some of his behaviors. But that doesn't mean that I should try to hobble him. I think there was an op-ed written a while ago saying it was my responsibility.
Well, because you supported him on so many of the big issues. I mean, you supported the Obamacare repeal.
Right.
You supported him on tax cuts.
Well,
you've voted with him overwhelming majority of the time.
But put it this way. before the president came along on health care reform, repeal and replacement of Obamacare. I voted 40 times. Should I change just to spite the president because he happens to favor the same reform that we do? Same with regard to tax reform. I've been pushing corporate tax reform in particular for years. Should I now turn the other direction just because the president happens to share our view? But on the things that we disagree on, for example, when it was the Muslim ban during the campaign, later changed to a travel ban, now I do believe it's constitutional. It's just not wise. I speak up every chance I get against that. NAFTA, getting out of NAFTA would be a disaster. TPP, to exit that trade agreement, disaster. So those things I'll continue to speak against.
Now the outspoken senator who already made headlines with his stunning resignation speech.
We must stop pretending that the degradation of our politics and the conduct of some in our executive branch are normal. They are not normal.
Is set to give a series of speeches on the Senate floor about the State of the Union.
The first one you want to do is about Trump's relationship with the truth.
Right.
What do you mean? What's this?
Well, we need, as a democracy and as a country, shared facts that we can agree on. We need to know, and people need to understand, that our institutions are solid and durable. And when we undermine them by talking about alternative facts or talking about statements that are just demonstrably false, like would have won the popular vote, for example, or that this, our institutions are sick, and that this is a rigged system, talking about an electoral system. That's just not good, and it's not right.
So are you saying the president's a liar?
I'm not saying that.
Well, why not? You're saying what he says is not true. Isn't that the same thing?
We can all choose our own words, and I've not used that word.
Flake plans to continue to serve in the Senate until his term is up just over a year from now, giving him the opportunity to help push Trump's agenda through or stand in the way. But does he have presidential ambitions of his own?
That's not in my plans. But I do wonder, and I do worry, that in the future we'll be faced with maybe President Trump running for re-election on one side, drilling down hard on a diminishing base, and on the other side you might have somebody like Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren on the far left of the Democratic Party. That leaves a huge swath of voters in the middle that may be looking for something else.
But you are open to running for president in 2020.
I don't rule anything out, but it's not in my plans.
It's coming up, by the way.
It is.
Would you be more likely to run for the Republican nomination against the president or as an independent candidate?
Like I said, I haven't thought that deeply about it. But I do believe if the president is running for re-election, if he continues on the path that he's on, that's going to leave a huge swath of voters looking for something else.
So you're saying if he is the Republican nominee, again, we're likely to see an independent candidate, whether or not it's you.
I think he's inviting that. He's probably inviting a Republican challenge as well, but certainly an independent challenge, yes.
But what would it take for you to leave the Republican Party? I mean, you've already been as harshly critical of your party's president as you really can be.
I can say that the fact that Roy Moore lost his election is a good sign that maybe the Republican Party, maybe we can turn back. But if we continue to go down that path, just to drill down on the base, then I think you'll have a lot of people realize there's no future for them in this party. I know a lot of them. Some are family members. Some are Republicans I've known for a long time, who've been lifelong Republicans, who simply say, this is not my party. This is not where I want to go. But I hope, like I said, with the election results in Alabama, that maybe the party's realizing, we've got to change.